Thank you, everyone, for being here. So first of all, with my name, it's always funny. She pronounced really well, but I make fun about myself. Like that, I stop being nervous after making joke about myself. So I have lived in France, so they could have said probably Antoine COBO. I live in England. Sometimes they try Anthony COBO. And I guess that here, maybe you can try Antonias Cobas, right? Cool. Now at least you smile once, it's good. I speak really fast. I'm from Spain. I don't know if you have ever worked with someone from Spain. If you, sorry about that. If it's really, really fast, raise both hands, and then I know that I should or shut up or slow down, okay? If you are really tired of myself, don't raise the hands, and maybe in 10 minutes we are done. And I'm asthmatic. It means that sometimes you may hear my breathing. I was here before, and there was another speaker that we could hear the breathing. So I'm going to warn you. It might sound a little bit like... So now with that and my accent, imagine something like that, and then probably you are going to forget about my breathing from this moment. Cool. So now, context. That's the king of every situation. I'm going to explain all my previous teams, the things that weren't working at all, and some tips that work for my teams. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, but maybe you're going to have ideas to apply something different. And maybe the idea is not going to be me giving you the idea. It's something that, oh, he was doing that, maybe we could do something different, right? And if you try something different after this talk with your teams, please let me know. It's always good. And if you think that it was really bad, just let me know as well and change it later. Let's put a cut. It's always good after the coffee. Any of your team members use instant message app with your teams? Answering, yeah? Cool. Oops. Does any of you answer emails outside the office, not being in the office building? Cool. You work from home at least one day a week, from time to time. So you are a distributed teams, no matter if the rest of the time everybody is located on the same office. A lot of people think that distributed teams is only outsourcing to different countries the development. You can be on the same city and be a distributed team, because not everybody is working on the same location all the time, right? And now at least we have a technology for that. We can, at least. 10 years ago, I wasn't able to. I would have loved to work from home from time to time. Now, some challenges with that. That's my current team. It's a Salesforce project. I've never worked on a Salesforce project before, so I was really happy when I arrived. Oh, I have 2 QAs. You will understand why I'm doing that. The product owner is in the US. I'm in UK. I have architect, 1 developer here, 1 developer in Slovakia, and 1 business analyst that actually was the former Scrum Master. I don't have devs. I only have 2 developers. So you can understand now the challenges with the stakeholder saying, your team is not delivering anything. Yeah, I know. Before that, my previous team, I was here, and that's how I know that it's Labas, Ritas, Atsu, Prasao, and that's more than enough to survive at least 2 days. At least they told me. So I have a lot of devs, only 1 QA. They were in charge of 7 products. They didn't develop any of those products. A different team was doing the product. It's production ready. It means it's not. It's only an MVP, but up for you. And you have only 2 days on handover, and that's your product. So I have people from support on rotating basis coming 1 sprint with us, and the next sprint they weren't with us, which wasn't ideal. Any team like that? Right here? You? No? Cool. Before that, 2 teams ago, US, UK, Latvia, Poland, only 1 QA, again, but a lot of developers. This one was really cool for the developers. So if there is some tech people, it was a fully serverless project with a lot of AWS Lambda. So for the developers, it was yoo-hoo! But the problem with that is if they made a mistake, they cost a lot of money because there is a lot of AWS instance up and running. So a lot of pressure from business. And I'm not going to put a picture of a team before that because it could be too big with India, Canada, US, Ireland, Monaco, France, Belgium, UK, and I'm forgetting one country, so probably I wasn't talking to that person a lot. Why do we prefer collocated teams? I'm assuming that everybody prefers collocated teams, right? Why? Any guess? Instant interaction. That's good. That's really good. We can see someone from Belgium. It's easier to drink a beer after the work. So also, you have a shared context when you are on a collocated team. Whether you are from different countries, if everybody is in the same city, you have the local context that you understand each other, even though in London you can be someone from Spain, France, Belgium, maybe one British, someone from India, working, and we all understand each other because we have the local context. It's also easier to have only one time zone because for the scheduling things, it's cool, right? You see each other. Sometimes you don't need to talk to know when someone needs help, right? And there's a lot of nonverbal communication. It's some study that around 90% of the communication actually is nonverbal. It's about how you say things, about the gestures of the body, and sometimes it's about the reaction on the face. It's more about communication than the voice. And usually, it's easy to build trust. When you build trust, you can argue and actually say, no, you're not right. You can discuss something different, right? Now we have the technology. We should be able to do that. You think, or not? It's possible to successfully deliver value. It's okay to say no, right? It's good to disagree. I do agree. The thing is, it requires a lot of effort from a lot of people and from the business as well, right? And the company needs to adjust to that. In the past, usually the reason to have distributed teams, it was for the false impression that it's cheaper, because the developers in different countries is cheaper. But then there is a lot of miscommunication, a lot of go back and forward with emails, and actually you are spending more time. So that's the reason the big companies, around 25 years ago, it was outsourcing everything. 10 years after, everything here back. 10 years after, outsourcing everything, because it's a new management all the time. With distributed teams, there's the ideal scenario versus reality. So ideal scenario, everybody has noise-canceling headphones, noise-canceling phone, the best connection ever, the webcam is amazing. We have meeting rooms available all the time. We have even the owl webcam that is following everybody in the room when someone is talking. And of course, you have availability of the meeting rooms. Do you work on an environment like that? I have one. Oh, we have one. So if you want to change off, talk to that one. I don't know the company, but maybe it's a good thing. The reality is we don't have that. We don't have everybody with the good noise-canceling headphones. We don't have meeting rooms. Sometimes the quality of the signal is bad, and so on, so on, so on. Or procurement. When you work on a big company, you cannot use all the cool tools in the world. I have on one of the teams, I wasn't able to connect to Google at all because procurement didn't like it. And when you are trying to facilitate retrospectives, you need to use different tools, right? More or less, it was 2 sprints till someone would say, Antonio, is that approved by procurement? And by following the rules, if someone asks you that, you should stop using it and ask procurement for approval. So I was screwed, because there were a lot of cool tools for a lot of things. And the average response time of procurement, 9 months to give maybe yes or maybe no. So that was all my problems. Communication with my teams. So with one team, WebEx, Office Communicator, and HipChat. That team, it was a little bit better. We had to use Skype for Business because there were people in US, so we were forced to use Skype for Business. We managed to have a Slack. We were the only ones in the company using Slack because we were some kind of testing team. So at least Slack, yay! And we managed to have, I don't know if some of you knows that one, it's called Jitsi, and it was really great. That was the cool tech project. They were spinning up an environment in the AWS, launch Jitsi, and you can have webcams and everything, and destroy the environment after the call. So for all the tech devs, it was, woohoo, cool. We are learning things and applying. Of course, it was only 3 weeks, really beautiful 3 weeks of our lives, but it was a security incident of the company, and they stopped everything. Now it's my current team, and then I was happy. They say, oh, we have a Slack, but they don't use it. I say, hi, and no one answers. So it's a little bit frustrating. We have a Skype for Business because we have people in the US, so we need to talk to them from time to time. And then I discovered Microsoft Teams. It's the first time ever that actually I don't hate a tool from Microsoft, which it was a surprise for me. So it's not bad, it's good. The problem is they tend to use Teams and they don't use Slack. So I'm a little bit. The key thing on all of them, it was to try to get visual communication. With only that, I don't need to tell you whether I'm understanding what you're saying. Or, Antonio, could you please open a Jira ticket? Cool. And you know it, right? I don't have to talk. So that's the reason we need to try to improve the visual communication. I was a Java developer a long time ago, and at that time, especially 10 years ago, the feeling of thinking about using a webcam, I would say, oh, no way, I'm going to even change the job if you force me to do it. So I have to battle and fight with every developer on every team to convince them to, from time to time at the beginning, switch on the webcam to improve the communication. I know there is one speaker that is doing a lot of remote facilitation training. She said that when I switch on the webcam and I see people not switching on, I do like that, and I continue. I have 2 problems with that. If someone doesn't switch on the webcam and you do like that, how do you know that it's on now after that? And the second one is, if you think that it's rude, you are doing something that is rude as well. So don't fight oil with oil, right? Try to convince in a different way. The only way that I manage to convince teams is I'm switching up the webcam from time to time. And some of them switch on, no, yes. On one meeting, I have a couple of developers and another a different one, till one moment, hopefully, someone is going to say in the retro, oh, the other day it was really good to have the webcams. And then it's as a team decision without me imposing the using the webcam. If you are a Scrum Master, any Scrum Master here? Cool. If you ask them and force them to switch on the webcam, that's going to never happen because they are not owning that decision. It's like everything on the process, you are trying to get the team to have the autonomy to decide. If they decide together on a retrospective, you know that from that moment, it's going to work. On one of the teams, they were only switching on the webcam when the product owner was on. And I was saying, why you don't do the rest of the time? He said, oh, it's because we don't want, and he's actually our line manager. You go, oh, okay, now I understand. If you force people, they're not going to do. And sometimes you can have a conversation. When you are all located, you have conversation about things that are not work-related, right? about, I don't know, what's the last thing that you read, the traffic was really bad. You put things like that, and most of the time, Antonio, are those books or what? What's the thing that you have behind? Oh, it's board games. You start talking about games, talking about something else, and it's more or less the same conversation you could have drinking a beer after. And that's making a team, right? Sometimes voice communication, you don't have webcams, or not everybody has webcams, even though I always prefer to force people to switch on the webcam. There is one thing that I'm from Spain, so I get angry a lot of the time, but I don't show it. One of the things that I don't like, if you don't have a noise-canceling microphone, please mute yourself if you're not talking. I'm hearing the Kit Kat opening, and if you're hearing that, you're not hearing your product owner explaining why it's important to do that user story, right? And I should put a list of funny things that you can actually hear in a meeting, like the toilet. So it's better that at that time they don't have the webcam on. I'm asthmatic. I'm always worried about breathing. Mute yourself, because I can hear the breathing of nearly everybody because I'm obsessed with mine. And it's really, really complicated to... Yeah, that's... So you're the Scrum Master. If you're in a meeting, you should allow people to talk, right? So it's the same on remote, on distributed. You need to be able to actually stop people to talking and allowing someone else to talk. On phone calls, especially depending on the country of origin, some countries, they are not going to interrupt ever. Even if they disagree completely, they are not going to interrupt. So that's why you need to stop someone to talk and let someone else. And now the cool tools, you can mute people if that person is not actually talking. But don't do that too often. And always switch on your webcam, because more or less it's going to help if the others, they cannot. You can know by the reaction of the Scrum Master if what you're saying is actually understandable or not. Because if you see my face like that, there is a chance that maybe someone else is not understanding, and they're not interrupting to say. I have worked with a lot of different countries. They don't say if they don't understand. Some countries, they always say, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can do it. And they say, okay, what? No, yes, we can do it. Okay, what can you do? Yes, we can do it. So it's a little bit complicated. So now, on the distributed teams, you have more or less the same events like when you're collocated. So I'm going to follow more or less the classical on the Scrum, even though not all the teams we were following Scrum by the book. We change and we adapt, and we transform the frameworks depending on the context and the product. Okay? But you're going to have a daily catch-up, right? Try to get people with a webcam. If not, you need to ensure that you can share the screen with the board, whether you use Jira, ADO, or any other tool. It's really good to share, because in some houses, it's really complicated to hear the signal. When you have the board, everybody is talking about the same. Again, you need to allow people to talk. I'm going to repeat a lot of things, because when I learning languages, some teachers told me the best way to say properly one word is to hear it at least 300 times. I'm not going to repeat 300 times this and this, maybe 200, but I prefer to tell you already. Okay? You're a Scrum Master. On every event, you need to ensure that everybody is talking, right? And daily catch-up, webcam, webcam, webcam. Some tips. If you have Jira, put the name and quick filters with the tickets assigned to someone. If you don't do that, you are going to have at least half of your team saying, let me remember what I was doing yesterday. It happened to me. But if you have already the tickets that you change the status on the last 24 hours, not only the tickets assigned to yourself, in some tools you can make quick filters to the tickets that you have modified the status on the last 24 hours. So it's easier to actually explain what you did, right? And rotate the person who shared the board. Not always the Scrum Master. And that is because with one of the teams, people from one country, not Lithuania, I promise, they were always talking about something that it was on our sprint board. And I said, I don't understand. Okay, tomorrow, could you please share the board? And the next day, someone else. Because like that, if I'm not on time, you can start a self-sufficient team, all the cool stuff. And they were actually on a different board. They were on the dashboard by default on Jira that you have all the tickets assigned to yourself, whether they are on the project or not. And the managers on that country, they knew that they were doing that. So they were assigning tickets or different projects or out of the sprint to those developers. Because it was a way of not allowing Antonio to know that I'm getting people done. That allows that everybody has the shared board. When you are in a collocated location, if you have a physical board, it's easier. You know that everybody understands what is there, right? Because it's there. When you are a distributed team, you need to ensure that everybody understands which one is the board, right? In some teams, they are a little bit more experienced, and instead of doing working the persons, you walk the stories on the board. Or if you are doing a Kanban and you start with the last tickets that they were released in production since yesterday, so you work the stories instead of the people, and anybody can talk. The only issue with that, depending on the culture, some people are going to hide on the talk and never talk on that meeting. So you need to ensure that everybody is actually saying something on the talk. And the important thing is you don't have a lot of opportunities to talk about things out of the job or things like that. When you are working the stories, my advice would be start every meeting with some checking questions. So everybody should say something in 10, 15 seconds that is not relating with the job. It's something cool that happened yesterday. I walked in the park. Or I was on holidays. I was the days off. Or actually, it was a really bad day yesterday for me, and I'm really even happy that I'm here working today. And you start like that. Everybody talks a little bit, and you are making the team. Refinement, or the token of conversation. Sometimes I prefer to name it like that, because you need to ensure that everybody share what is needed. Of course, typical stuff, webcam, unmute yourself. One of the things with the refinement that it works for me and my teams, I'm not sharing the screen. So it's the only meeting that I don't want the Scrum Master to share the screen. I want the product owner or the business analyst to share the screen. You only need to facilitate, ensure that everybody is talking. And why it's important that you are not sharing the screen? Do you do estimation through Skype or any instant message? Any of you? I tried with every team. Okay, let's do an estimation to see if we all agree with the size. What's the size of this ticket? Creak, 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 creak. Now one, now one, now one, now one, now one. And then the tech lead. 5. And that's magic happens. In less than 1 second, everybody else is saying 5. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. He said, really? You all agree that this is a 5? Wow, that's impressive. Next story. The same. Now one, now one, now one. 8. Boom. Everybody else, 8. I'm pretty sure that not everybody has the same understanding of what's happening in the story, and they're not talking. My way to actually do that in a different way is send a direct message to the Scrum Master with your estimation. You are going to send me a 3. You are going to send me a 5. The tech lead maybe a 2. Someone else an 8. And then you can have a conversation, and you can actually understand what is needed, what is the real size, and if everybody agrees. Otherwise, why you're doing refinements if it's only the tech lead putting the estimates? Normally, the refinement is to ensure that there is no doubt what is needed, what is the content of the user story, the value that we are given, and a relative size and complexity, right? That's the only way to actually understand that and force the teams to do that. And when you have that, then you can say, okay, what do you think is a 2? What do you think is an 8? And everybody agrees that it was a 3 or it was a 5. But you understand the tech lead saying why it's a 4 or a 3, and someone else saying, oh, I think it's bigger because maybe there's an impact here, here, here. Oh, actually, you're right. Then it was even bigger than the tech lead was thinking, or smaller, right? And of course, webcams all the time. I'm not putting pictures of my teammates because of GDPR, and so I'm a little bit afraid of that, especially because I'm a consultant working on different companies. So if they allow me to use, maybe they will allow me only for 1 month and not forever. So only pictures of me or animals later. You do reviews or demos, whether you are following Scrum by the book or not, you are showing what you're doing, hopefully, because it's a cool thing, right? Of course, typical, I'm not going to repeat myself more about the webcam. One of the things that work for some of my teams, instead of the BA or the product owner presenting the whole demo, each developer is actually performing a demo of what was achieved. That is going to help on a lot of different ways, because you are going to ensure that every developer starts speaking more on a user-friendly talk, because they need to explain on a non-technical way what was achieved. That is, of course, is when you invite external people to the demo. And also, it's a good way to make everybody proud of what they are doing. If only the product owner is showing, or only the business analyst, developers, they are going to start muting themselves, not listening, and doing something different. But if you have to actually present something, you are going to be more or less the whole time of the demo more aware of what the others are doing. And when you are in different locations, it's a good way to keep that. When you invite external people, especially when you see that there is a couple of demos that they are not really good and things like that because it's only internal people, all the team on the demo, ask yourself someone in the company. If it could be everybody in the same location, I could invite the whole company or doing the demo even in the middle of the desk, like that anybody can see. You cannot do that when it's a meeting. Well, sometimes yes, but on the companies that I work in now, it's thousands of people. Probably they could fire me if I try to invite more than 1,000. But invite sometimes important people. On one company, all the demos that were a little bad, till one day I managed to discuss with the CTO, having a coffee on the coffee machine, and I said, oh, how is the team doing? Oh, it's good, good. Do you want to come to the next demo? Oh, yeah, let me see when it's good. And I managed to get a slot of the CTO. I told the team, I told the CTO, but if you're there, I don't want you to be there and answering emails. So webcam on all the time, because the whole team will have the webcam. They say, okay. And then it was the best demo ever. I said, the CTO is coming to the demo, and everybody was presenting, explaining in a user-friendly way, and it was amazing. And they were really happy that actually I did that. They told me after. Before, they were a little bit unhappy. But on the retro, actually they say, oh, it was cool to have someone out of the team seeing what we're doing. Because you have the distributed team, sometimes you're missing that part, right? It could happen. We all had maybe once a sprint that is shitty, right? And you don't have anything to demo. It could happen. Maybe not on all your teams, because you are wonderful and amazing, and maybe it's only my teams that from time to time they suck. No. It's really complicated to have the slots or meeting rooms, so I wouldn't cancel at all the demo. I would start already discussing with the team what was the reason that we don't have anything to demo, and you start having more and more information to prepare a good retrospective after that. Don't wait till the retrospective. If you already have everybody 1 hour of your time booked, when you have people in different time zones, use it. Use all the meetings that you have scheduled. Yeah. Planning or forecasting, or a lot of different names. Again, that's really important. And one of the things, I don't have a strong preference whether it's the product owner or the Scrum Master sharing the screen. It's going to depend on the team and sometimes on the personality of the product owner. So if the product owner is a little bit pushy or bossy, I made the product owner to share the screen on the planning and to put him or herself at the service of the team. So it's you are going to put only in the sprint what the team is going to say, and you are not allowed to put things, but you are going to be sharing the screen. That is a little bit to humanize the product owner in some cases. The first time that I do that, sometimes they don't like me, then they understand why I'm doing that. Because when you have a product owner a little bit bossy, and at the end they do a meeting that they are at the service of the team, that sprint usually is better than any other, because the team feel empowered, and the product owner realize why it was important. And you need to ensure everybody's opinion is considered. So sometimes you need to actually make the product owner to shut up, or someone else to shut up, or the tech lead. And sometimes you need to ask, is your team, you should know more or less after several sprints when someone is a little bit angry or not, or when someone needs to say something. Because the way that they are writing on Slack, if someone is usually using 2 or 3 words and one day it's really long sentences, you know something is happening, right? Or the opposite is when someone is doing big sentences, arguing, and then the sentence is getting slower, shorter, something is happening. In person, you would try to discuss with that team member to try to understand what's happening, if you can help, right? That was the light that I have on one of that building. It was really, really bad condition. So, and my eyes got worse. So now I have glasses all the time. The best and the most important meeting of all were retrospective. If you ever need to cancel any meeting, not the retrospective. You need to inspect and get better. If you are so busy that you don't have time for meetings, the retrospective is going to help you actually to find the reasons and find how to improve that, right? Same with the webcams, usually. You share the screen. You are the Scrum Master, you share the screen, right? The retrospective, start asking for the people that they don't usually talk. It's a good way. If you are sharing the screen, but it's more about a conversation, one of the things that I usually like is to share a screen with the webcams of everybody. So imagine that are developers instead of cats. So it makes people more aware if someone else is understanding or not, because you see actually all the webcams. Not everybody put on local the way to see all the faces, and no, it's my only way to make them feel like a team. You are distributed, you need interactive boards, right? I don't have access to all the cool things like Sensei tool, Retrium, and a lot of others, because procurement didn't allow me. I managed to use a Skater Spoke. Have you used a Skater Spoke? Anyone? It's something like that. You can define all the different areas. You can merge, do the dot voting, add a new area on the fly, so you can adapt to the retrospective. And for small teams, it's free. Well, I really like it. And it was, for a couple of months, really, really cool tool. I'm not allowed to use it anymore. Idea boards, I use that with a different team. It's a little bit simpler than Skater Spoke. It looks like that, so you can do a little bit of sections, dot voting, your only QA is going to prove that someone can vote 1,000 times on the same ticket. It's the first thing that the QA is going to do. So that's the reason I don't like it. And you cannot modify the structure on the go. It was good. I'm not allowed to use it anymore. WebEx whiteboards. Have you ever used WebEx whiteboards? With success. So it was only one and then 0. It was impossible. So I tried, and then I even tried a Confluence page that everybody can modify at the same time. But it was a little bit complicated. I even tried a HipChat dedicated room. The problem is how you do the dot voting on a chat that you cannot actually add on that version. We couldn't add a +1. So it was complicated as well. I'm using right now, it's not on the slide because I'm with a new client, Azure DevOps. They have an option for retrospective. It's not as powerful as Skater spoke, but you can do things and modify. So I have a conflict in myself about my eternal hate to Microsoft and something at Microsoft that is not that bad. But we'll see. Some tips, and that tips is whether it's remote retrospective or not, try to change format as much as you can. When I arrived to one of those teams, the retrospective, they were half an hour, and they were finishing even before that. In 11 months, every retrospective was a different format all the time. And at the end, we were talking for nearly 2 hours and improving and saying ideas, because they stopped being bored of a retrospective. Start, stop, continue. If I'm a developer on the second retrospective, I'm going to say, stop this format. It's really boring. You need ideas? Retromat. It's really cool. A lot of different exercise. I'm going to share later on my Twitter the slides. So for the pictures, it's going to be easier probably. It's in a lot of languages. I haven't found in Lithuanian. However, if one of you wants to have translated, I'm pretty sure that the people in Retromat are going to be more than happy. When you are on a retro, no phones, no laptops, only yours. And try to do icebreakers, some small interactions, some joke, or some one that I do on remote teams is to make a long sentence with 3 words each. So imagine that I'm start and say, isn't it crazy? A flying cat is eating pizza while we wait for the release. That wasn't one of my retro. When you do that, and you can do it on a chat, people start making fun, and they stop thinking about that they are so busy to do retrospective. It's really powerful to start like that. Ask for feedback after each retrospective. Not every element is going to be good depending on the country. Some, they prefer to speak in a different way, some on another. And of course, when you are doing a remote retrospective, you need to prepare long in advance all the different exercises. You need ideas. Do Typeform, SurveyMonkey, send a survey to the team and ask about ideas about exercise. You need to ensure that every action is properly captured. It's not anymore the sticky notes that you're putting and then you add the ticket. You don't have sticky notes on the screen, I hope. That's the most complicated thing for me, when only one is remote and everybody else is in a meeting room. The only way for me to make it work is actually not sharing anything on the big screen and just sharing that person's webcam. When you see someone like that, really big, it's the only way that they stop forgetting about that person. And I tried a lot of things. No, that's the only way. Just finishing now. Webcam, unmute yourself, but webcam all the time. If you have a tool, the possibility of video call at any moment is going to help making some relationships. So that's the reason I like Slack, because you can have video calls with Slack. Or now with Microsoft Teams, I can. You are the Scrum Master. You need to let people to talk and ensure that everybody is talking, even the introvert. Involve the whole team and make every retrospective unique. And if you can, come to see the rest of the team in person. At you.
What to do in case you have a retrospective and the team says, well, everything is fine. We don't want anything to improve. We think that everything is fine.
I did once that it was, instead of focusing on the things that are not working, let's put all the things that we do good. This is going well, and now, how do you make this to be even better? Because you can improve anything. So if they don't find anything that is not working, I'm pretty sure that if you focus on how to improve the things that are actually working to become better. They tried once to do that, but we had the retro, and they improved because they find that there was other things to improve. Okay, so how do you run retros and keep everyone on the same page? What is your favorite online tool for retro? I like Skaterspoke for the board. Retrium, it's really good, and even Sensei tool. That's more or less my favorite ones. And how do you keep people interested in a meeting? The first rule when you are doing distributed meetings, when it's not a distributed meeting, you need to make it relevant and people aware of what is expecting from them. So in the retrospective, you start explaining why it's important. There is one exercise that you could do in one retrospective. It's everybody to write why do they think that we do retrospectives. So you have the feeling of the whole team, and you start involving them. On the other question about how to allow people to talk, sometimes, depending on the exercise, you can do exercise that is two people talking together even on a chat, and then sharing one idea to the whole team. So when two are on a chat, they're going to talk between them. One of them is going to share one idea to the rest of the team. So there is one website that is called Liberating Structures. There is an exercise that is 1, 2, for all. It's you start thinking yourself the idea, you share with someone else, you share the idea in groups of 4, picking one idea, and then you share with the whole of the team. You can do that actually in Slack with different channels on conversations and things like that. Start small to make people more involved to talk. How important is to organize on-site meetings? It's really important. People will understand you better if they hear you in person, because they are going to see how you move, how you make the face expressions, and you are going to share something that is not work-related. So if you come maybe for the team that, my team that was the developers in Vilnius, they were coming 1 week every month to London, UK, and it was really great because we start learning more about each other, maybe sometimes going to lunch together, and it's going to make the team like that. So if you can see someone, you're going to trust even better. Technology is going to help to reduce the gap, but the best is actually to talk to people and to see people how they react. So if I'm talking and you are like that, I know that it's boring. If I'm talking and you are, maybe I'm doing something right.
Yeah. I would like to ask you, it would be the last question. Yeah. What
if the team does not see anything to make better during retro? Then propose, if they are going to come the next time to London 1 week, how we can make that trip better, how we can make something different. Or ask, okay, let's build your perfect Scrum Master. So there is one on Retromat that is actually build your own Scrum Master. It's my ideal Scrum Master would have these qualities, would do things like that, and make them to do that exercise. And then they are trying to make you better for the team, because maybe they are the ones that are good and you are the one who needs to improve. Does it answer the question?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we don't have much more time.